this video, we showcase the model for the hexagonal generation. Principally, we have two different kinds of cells, hexagonal cells, of course, the cell that is a single unit and hopefully, yes, the cell that is a double unit. We assign a certain cell budget, which is for a cell that is double size, one pays 2, and for a cell that is single size, one pays 1 of some virtual currency. And if we use the budget to build, we have a lot of possibilities of extending upon previous cells. You see here cell arrangements appearing, and these cell arrangements can be steered to a certain degree by using the parameters given on the right side. But first things first, so we use a virtual budget, which I can adjust a bit so things get smaller or bigger. I can influence the compactness of the whole structure by suppressing or not suppressing consecutive double size containers. I can characterize the whole arrangement by a certain, by several measures. Let's see. So we have here the circulation, and as you see, some parts of the circulations are relative straight, so horizontal or vertical. These are these, and other parts are angled, so these are the diagonal parts. So the characterization into diagonal or horizontal is immediately clear. So we have a higher amount of diagonal arrangements than horizontal, which is natural to this generation, since the hexagonal automaton here has more possibilities for connecting diagonally than it does horizontally. Second characterization is by the amount of areas that get built. The concept is this: whenever there is a double-sized container, so when we build, so the first cell would be, I guess, was this one, then we extend it into several directions, and as long as then at some point we cross over from a single cell to a double cell, and that's where the area gets changed, because we assume the double cell plays the role of a bridge into a new area. There we assign a new area color, and we do this until we hit another double cell where we say again a new area. So here we have 3 areas, and I guess, do we have 3 or 4 areas? Let's see. We have 3 areas. Why this hasn't been sort of a new area is escapes me for the moment. But let's see how it goes when we start generation fresh. So we arrange 2 single cells, and now we have a double cell. So we say this is a new area, and from there on we generate further. It can be that in a cycle nothing gets built because it would overlap previously built cells, and in the end we end up here with 2 areas, 3rd area being opened here, 4th area, and so on, and then we can reiterate the whole process. Interesting. Sometimes a new area gets opened, sometimes not. Seems to be a bug and no feature. Besides, there is, if you have many areas, we calculate the disparity. What does that mean? An area consists of cells, and those cells have costs. A single cell has cost 1, and a double cell has cost 2. So here we can immediately count 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 and 2 is 6, and 2 is 8. So this is the cost of this area. Now imagine there would be, and now here it is, there would be a new area. This area has cost 2. So the disparity between two areas can be calculated. It is simply the maximum cost minus the minimum cost of each area. And then we can also calculate a mean cost. And what does it all mean? The disparity roughly gives you an idea over whether areas are sort of balanced from a building perspective. Now, these areas are very unbalanced, yeah? And unbalanced means there's a very small area and a very big area. We use this disparity in calculating the fitness. When we say calculate the fitness using the area disparity, we mean that we want every area to have approximately the same cost, and so that every area is approximately as the same size. Yeah, of course, this is hard to reach since the whole process is based on randomness, but after millions and millions of iterations, you will get to the point where this is exactly balanced. And now this model here runs in the browser, is very slow. The same model can be run on the computer, directly on the desktop, and then it would be much faster as shown in due course. No. So if we run the same model now in NetLogo, which is the simulation environment from which the web page was created, you will see that it runs much faster, and we can simulate 1,000 runs in a matter of a few seconds. Yeah. Now let's come to the fitness calculations. We already saw that. Let us just hit 1,000 here before we turn back to the web version, which is nicer in my view. So this seems to be the best solution so far, when we use area disparity as fitness criterion. So these areas are approximately the same size, give or take. Let's go back to this. So we have the opportunity to use a lot of fitness measures. A fitness value is a value between 0 and 1, which gives for a certain solution a measure of how good it is. And in this case, we have used only area disparity, meaning the deviation between minimum and maximum cost of each area. Or you determine the area with the minimum cost, you determine the area with the maximum cost, and you subtract from the maximum the minimum, and this is the disparity. And a disparity of 0 has a fitness of 1, because everyone's equal then, and the disparity of not 0 is lower than 1. In this case, we have 0.22. We can also say, we can use all the measures we can use many of those measures at once, but I prefer to show you these one by one. We can say we have the fitness shall be calculated from the amount of diagonal circulations. We want to reach a certain target, namely 50% diagonal circulations, which implies that the other half must, of course, be horizontal. If we use this fitness target and start the generation, then we see that sometimes, yeah, we reach the exact level 1 and sometimes not. Yeah, it depends really on the generation. It gets better when a new cell is added, or it gets worse. Yeah. And by the way, as we calculate, we always keep in the background the best solution, so that at the end we can load the best solution, best according to our fitness criterion, and be happy with that. Okay, so here we use 50% diagonals as a fitness value. Now let's stop this for a moment and use horizontal. We'd like to have 50% horizontal, will be the same, of course. And we would like to have as fitness criterion the amount of areas, like say 5 areas I want to generate. And if it's not 5, if you deviate from that, you get the lower fitness. So let's see how this works. Oh, yeah, approaches 5 areas, has of course also something to do with the budget you give the algorithm. No? It's hard to build 5 areas with a too low budget. No? So in a simulation experiment, it is normally not allowed to change the parameters when you do multiple runs. You have to decide for a certain parameter setting and then do your 1,000 runs using these parameters. However, in the exploratory phase, as we are now, it is perfectly okay to intervene while the simulation runs, yeah, so as to find the most, how to say, fitting values. A second thing to notice. Now, when we say a horizontal circulation, we mean not only the circulations with 0 degrees or 180 or 90 degrees and so. It is okay to be also a bit angled, like this case here. And how do we decide whether something is horizontal or like straight or it's diagonal? This is this threshold. One can sort of say everything until and including such a value, like 23 or 30 or 60 even, is to be considered horizontal. However, in practice, it was found out that 23 seems to be a good measure, like a good threshold. Everything above seems to be not so ideal. Okay, so why not use all those fitness criteria at once? No? Now, here you will see that the fitness is sort of always staying around the middle. Yeah, because if one measure turns out to be fairly good, the other measures will balance that out and so. So it's really a matter of considering very carefully what you want. Another thing to notice is that sometimes the algorithm here is not perfect and will build overlapping structures. This is, as you see here, for example, stop. You see here an overlap. This is a bug and no feature, but it could be also considered a feature. Like in the hospital or in a healthcare facility, you sometimes have areas which are used between several disciplines at once, for example, a shared operation theater. Yeah, this could be considered as such. Okay, now we have here widely spread out structure. If we suppress consecutive doubles, meaning that we don't allow building a double, and after that we build a double again. Yeah, if we suppress that, it should be even further spread out, or what's the effect? Let's see. No, it should be more compact. Yeah, because you don't reach as far. So At the end of the day, the model shows, and that's sort of the conclusion, the model shows far more possibilities than given in the diploma thesis of Julia Vorraber, because it sort of is based on just randomness and no aesthetics. In the diploma, there is a lot of manual intervention, meaning that rings were built and so on. A lot of things were based on aesthetics. But if the algorithm comes in, it doesn't have this, and it builds unforeseen structures simply because it arranges those hexagonal cells. And that's the true benefit, because one can get over simple aesthetics and look maybe not at the whole as a finished structure, but consider this in some parts which are taken out and transferred then and to the CAD world, and there we can further develop such a program or such a arrangement manually. But there are a lot of ideas hidden in these arrangements, and the randomization helps to get the head free and really explore everything that's possible. Yeah. It is also nice, maybe as a second point, to see the relationship, oh, now it's gone, between positive and negative space as the algorithm builds randomly. Now look at this beautiful inner courtyard that occurs because the arrangement of cells was as it is. Here is the involuntary overlap that leads to this nice situation. No? Now this part could be taken out and further developed. No? With that, I'm stopping my broadcast. I'm hoping that these explanations will help. And if not, we can sort of also stay in contact or discuss this further in person.